What if the fastest way to lift your mood is not a pill, not a therapy session, not a motivational speech, but a simple food sitting in your kitchen right now, and most people walk past it every single day without realizing the quiet power it holds? For thousands of years, humans have searched for happiness in rituals and stories and medicines and in miracles. Yet long before modern psychology and brain scans, our ancestors already knew that certain foods could change how they felt almost instantly. And today's science is finally catching up to what old traditions hinted at. This simple food is dark chocolate. And before you roll your eyes and think this is just another sweet excuse, listen closely, because the story of chocolate is not the story of candy bars and sugar crashes. It is the story of chemistry, culture, survival, and the human brain. When ancient civilizations like the Maya and the Aztec prepared cacao, they did not treat it like dessert. They treated it like something sacred warriors drank it before battle. Rulers served it in ceremonies, and healers believed it strengthened both body and spirit. They did not have words like serotonin, dopamine, or flavonoids, but they understood through experience that this bitter drink could sharpen focus, increase energy, and shift mood in minutes. Fast forward to the modern world, and chocolate became heavily sweetened, processed, and marketed as comfort food, which created a myth that chocolate is nothing more than an unhealthy indulgence. Yet when you strip away the added sugars and look at pure dark chocolate with high cacao content, you discover a very different story. Inside every small square of quality dark chocolate are natural compounds that interact with your brain in fascinating ways. Cacao contains tryptophan, which your body uses to help produce serotonin, often called the feel-good chemical. It also contains phenylethylamine, sometimes nicknamed the love chemical, because it is released when people fall in love. This compound can create a subtle sense of excitement and pleasure, and while the amounts are not massive, they work together with other plant chemicals called flavonols that improve blood flow, including blood flow to the brain. Better blood flow means more oxygen and nutrients reaching brain cells, which can support clearer thinking and brighter mood. Within a short time, researchers have observed that people who consume small amounts of high cacao chocolate often report feeling calmer, more content, and slightly more energized compared to those who do not. And this is not magic. It is biology. Your brain is constantly responding to what you eat. Every bite sends signals through your gut, which is lined with millions of nerve cells, sometimes called the second brain. This gut-brain connection is one of the most exciting areas of modern science because it shows that mood is not only created in the head, but influenced by the digestive system as well. Cacao contains fiber and plant compounds that can support beneficial gut bacteria, and healthy gut bacteria help regulate inflammation, stress responses, and neurotransmitter production. So when someone says they crave chocolate during stressful times, it may not be just emotional weakness. It may be the body seeking certain compounds that support balance. However, not all chocolate works the same. Milk chocolate often contains more sugar and less cacao, and large amounts of sugar can spike blood glucose levels, leading to short bursts of energy followed by crashes that may worsen mood. This has led to the misconception that chocolate causes mood swings, when in reality, it is often the sugar overload doing the damage. High-quality dark chocolate with 70% cacao or more contains less sugar and more of the beneficial compounds that make cacao unique. Moderation is key because even healthy foods can become harmful when overused. A small square or two can be enough to experience subtle mood support without excess calories or sugar. And this idea of moderation echoes ancient wisdom where cacao was valued but not abused. Another surprising fact is that magnesium found in dark chocolate plays a role in relaxation. Many people in the United States and around the world do not get enough magnesium from their diets. Magnesium helps regulate stress hormones and supports muscle and nerve function. Low magnesium levels have been linked in some studies to increased anxiety and irritability. So that gentle sense of calm some people feel after eating dark chocolate may partly be related to replenishing this important mineral. There is also a psychological layer to consider. The ritual of eating chocolate slowly, mindfully allowing it to melt on the tongue can create a moment of pause in a busy day, and that pause itself reduces stress. In modern culture, we often rush through meals while scrolling on phones or multitasking, which dulls our awareness and disconnects us from sensory pleasure. When you intentionally savor a piece of dark chocolate, you engage taste, smell, texture, and memory The brain responds to this focused sensory experience by activating reward pathways, which can amplify the positive effect. This is not about emotional eating in the unhealthy sense. It is about mindful enjoyment, which psychology research shows can enhance satisfaction and reduce overconsumption. There are still myths. To clear up, some people believe chocolate is addictive like a drug, while chocolate can stimulate pleasure pathways. Its effect is far milder than substances that hijack the brain. The desire for chocolate often reflects a combination of taste preference habit and mild biochemical reward, not true addiction. Others believe chocolate causes acne or severe mood disorders, yet large-scale research does not consistently support the idea that moderate dark chocolate intake directly causes these issues for most healthy individuals. As with many foods, context matters. Overall diet, lifestyle, sleep, and stress levels play a bigger role in skin and mental health than one simple food. In fact, emerging research in nutritional psychiatry, a field that explores how diet influences mental well-being, suggests that diets rich in whole plant foods, healthy fats, and minimally processed ingredients are associated with lower rates of depression and anxiety. Dark chocolate, when chosen wisely, can fit into this broader pattern of balanced eating. It is not a cure for clinical depression, and it is not a replacement for therapy, medication, or medical care, but it can be one small supportive piece of a larger lifestyle that nurtures mental resilience. Imagine a stressful afternoon at work, emails piling up, deadlines approaching, tension building. Instead of reaching for another cup of coffee that may increase jitteriness, you break off a small square of dark chocolate. You take a slow breath, you let it melt, and you focus on its deep, slightly bitter flavor. Within minutes, you may notice a gentle lift, not a dramatic transformation, but a subtle shift enough to feel steadier, more centered. This is how simple habits shape daily experience, and small shifts repeated over time can influence overall mood patterns. There is also an interesting cultural dimension. In Europe, particularly in countries like Switzerland and Italy, chocolate consumption is common, yet often paired with active lifestyle, social connection, and slower meal patterns. This combination may explain why moderate chocolate intake there does not always correlate with negative health outcomes. In contrast, in fast-paced environments where chocolate is consumed alongside highly processed foods and chronic stress, the context changes again, showing that no food acts alone. It interacts with the rest of your life. From a health history perspective, chocolate traveled a long path from bitter ceremonial drink in Central America to sweet mass-produced bars and supermarkets. During industrialization, sugar became cheaper and more abundant, transforming cacao into candy. This shift shaped public perception, leading many to see chocolate as purely indulgent. But now, as consumers grow more interested in clean ingredients and functional foods, there is renewed appreciation for high cacao products. Some companies even focus on minimal processing to preserve flavonols, which are sensitive to heat and heavy manufacturing techniques. This reflects a broader trend where ancient ingredients are being rediscovered through the lens of modern science. The psychology of comfort foods is another layer worth exploring. People often associate chocolate with warmth, care, and reward. Childhood memories of treats, celebrations, and shared desserts create emotional connections that amplify its mood effects. When a food is linked with positive memories, the brain anticipates pleasure even before the first bite, releasing small amounts of dopamine in expectation. This anticipatory response can be powerful, yet it also means that how you think about a food influences how it affects you. If you view chocolate with guilt and fear, stress hormones may rise, reducing the potential positive impact. If you approach it with balance and appreciation, the experience changes. Mindset shapes biology more than many realize, and this mind-body link is central to understanding mood. Support scientists have also studied cacao for its potential impact on cognitive performance. Some small studies suggest that flavonols in dark chocolate may improve certain aspects of memory and attention in the short term, likely due to improved blood flow to the brain. While these effects are not dramatic, they hint at how even everyday foods can influence mental clarity. This challenges the common belief that only specialized supplements or expensive superfoods affect brain function. Sometimes the answer is simpler and more accessible than marketing suggests. Affordability and availability matter, because mental health support should not depend solely on costly solutions. Dark chocolate is widely available, and when chosen carefully, it can be an accessible addition to a balanced Diet still, it is important to remember that mood is complex. It is shaped by sleep, movement, relationships, sunlight, purpose, and many other factors. No single food can override chronic stress, unresolved trauma, or serious mental illness. But supportive habits can create a foundation that makes coping easier and resilience stronger. In the United States, where rates of stress and burnout are high, simple daily practices that nurture well-being are more important than ever. Adding a small mindful ritual with dark chocolate may seem minor, yet small rituals anchor us. They signal safety and reward in an often demanding environment. This may be part of why certain cultures maintain cacao ceremonies, not for sugar highs, but for shared experience and intentional pause. When you consider that your brain uses about 20% of your body energy, even at rest, it makes sense that nutrition plays a critical role in emotional balance, stable blood sugar, adequate micronutrients, healthy fats, and antioxidants all contribute to optimal brain function. Dark chocolate provides some of these elements in modest amounts alongside other whole foods like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, fish, and whole grains. It becomes part of a pattern that supports mood stability rather than spikes and crashes. Another fascinating detail is that cacao contains small amounts of caffeine and theobromine. These compounds gently stimulate the nervous system, but usually in a milder way than coffee. Many people find that dark chocolate provides alertness without the same intensity of jitters or sleep disruption, especially when consumed earlier in the day. This balance of mild stimulation and calming minerals may explain why it feels both uplifting and soothing at the same time, a combination that few foods naturally provide. In recent years, social media has amplified extreme nutrition claims, with some influencers declaring chocolate toxic, while others call it a miracle superfood. The truth, as often happens, lies in the middle. Dark chocolate is neither poison nor magic. It is a plant-based food with bioactive compounds that can support mood. When integrated into a balanced lifestyle, critical thinking is essential because sensational headlines attract attention but rarely capture nuance. Health is built on patterns, not single ingredients, and personal responses vary. Genetics, gut microbiome composition, stress levels, and overall diet all influence how someone reacts to a specific food. This means experimenting mindfully and observing your own experience is valuable. If a small portion of dark chocolate leaves you feeling satisfied and steady, it may be a helpful addition. If it triggers overconsumption or discomfort, adjusting portion size or frequency makes sense. Self-awareness turns nutrition into a personal science rather than a rigid rulebook. There is also environmental and ethical context. Cacao farming impacts communities and ecosystems. Choosing products sourced responsibly can align personal well-being with social responsibility, creating a sense of integrity that further enhances mood because actions consistent with values reduce cognitive dissonance. When you know your choices support fair practices, the enjoyment deepens. This may sound abstract, yet psychological research shows that living in alignment with personal values contributes to overall life satisfaction. Even small purchases can reflect that alignment. So the simple act of choosing high-quality, ethically sourced dark chocolate can connect pleasure with purpose, reinforcing positive feelings on multiple levels. Consider how different this perspective is from the old, guilt-driven narrative that labeled chocolate as forbidden fruit. When something is forbidden, it often becomes more desirable, leading to cycles of restriction and binging which harm both mood and metabolism. Reframing dark chocolate as a mindful, supportive food breaks that cycle. It removes drama and replaces it with intention. This shift mirrors broader changes in nutrition science, where balance and sustainability replace rigid dieting trends. And when people feel less deprived, they often make healthier choices overall because their relationship with food becomes calmer, more respectful, and more intuitive. Imagine sharing a small piece of dark chocolate with a friend during a conversation about life challenges. That shared moment can strengthen social bonds, which themselves are one of the strongest predictors of happiness and longevity. So the mood boost may not come only from the cacao, but from connection, laughter, and empathy. Intertwined with the experience, food often acts as a bridge between people, and chocolate in particular has long symbolized affection, from holiday gifts to romantic gestures. While commercial marketing has amplified these symbols, the underlying human tendency to share sweet flavors during positive moments remains real. The brain links sweetness with safety and reward from infancy onward. yet dark chocolate adds complexity with. Its bittersweet taste reminding us that pleasure does not have to be purely sugary or extreme. It can be nuanced, layered, and mature, much like emotional well-being itself. Ultimately, the idea that a simple food can boost your mood instantly is both true and incomplete. Yes, dark chocolate contains compounds that can support brain chemistry, circulation, and relaxation. Yes, mindful enjoyment can trigger psychological reward pathways. Yes, cultural history and personal memory amplify its effects, but lasting mood health comes from consistent patterns of care, adequate sleep, regular movement, meaningful relationships, time outdoors, stress management, and balanced nutrition. Dark chocolate can be a small, delightful ally within that broader framework, not a hero, but a helpful companion. And perhaps that is the most empowering message. You do not need exotic powders or complicated regimens to experience small moments of uplift. Sometimes what you need is already within reach, waiting to be rediscovered with fresh understanding. So the next time you see a bar of high cacao dark chocolate, instead of viewing it as guilty pleasure, consider it a plant with a long history, a bundle of fascinating chemistry, and a potential spark for a brighter moment in your day. Try it slowly, notice how you feel, observe without judgment, and let curiosity guide you. Because health is not only about restriction, it is about informed choices repeated with intention. If you found this exploration surprising or helpful, take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments about your experience with dark chocolate, and subscribe for more simple science-backed insights that make everyday life healthier and happier.